Hello, everyone. This is Brittany O'Neill, one of the Humanities and Social Sciences librarians at LSU Libraries. And today we're going to be going over citation management software, more specifically Zotero, and how you can use it to collect, manage, and cite your sources. So if you've never used Zotero or any other kind of citation management software, a little bit of background on what that is. So citation managers are software that allow users to save entire references and generate bibliographies from that information, essentially a way to keep all of your sources in one place and cite them more easily. Most of these also save copies of PDFs or links to the information that you save. They also embed in a web browser in order to allow you to save more quickly, and integrate into various word processors to make that citation process faster. Some examples, in addition to Zotero, that you may have heard of are EndNote, Mendeley, and RefWorks. Why is this useful? So I mentioned that it saves all of your sources in one place. This is really great for people who are a little bit more on the go, maybe have a laptop at home and a desktop in the office and an iPad or an iPhone, whatever you might have. And you might want to keep all of your stuff in one place without having to have that one place be a flash drive that you carry around. These also automatically pull bibliographic information, so things like a book title or a journal title or the author or the issue number or any other kind of identifying information that you would normally have to save yourself. These also allow you to cite while you write. So I can type in my writing, hit my cite button, insert the citation, and keep on going with my writing. These also enable you to share the library of information that you save. So this is really great for things like group project work, if you're working on something with a co-author, or I've even used it personally for creating reading lists. If, let's say, I'm doing a presentation and I would like to share further reading for my audience, I can share a link to a Zotero folder. These also allow for better organization and make it easier to find what you've saved. So if you're a person who likes to download a bunch of their articles, they might all end up in different folders on different devices and with all kinds of useless file types like a string of numbers, and it makes it hard to find stuff. But citation managers make it easier to find and organize all of your information. They also allow for flexibility between different citation formats, and they allow for web archiving, so capturing a web page as it exists at the time that you're looking at it, and to store your PDFs in one place. So now that we understand a little bit more about citation managers in general, what is Zotero? So Zotero is a citation management product that is a project of the Corporation for Digital Scholarship. It's a nonprofit run by historian scholars to make research more easy to do. It's free and open source, and it's available on a multitude of different operating systems. It integrates with multiple different word processing softwares, and it works on almost any web browser. So you may be thinking, there are a ton of citation managers out there. How are they different? So Zotero might not be the perfect fit for you. I'm going to go through some of the pros and cons that will hopefully make it easier for you to pick which one fits you best. So some of the pros to Zotero, I think the most important one is privacy. So since Zotero is not run by a major corporation, for example, some of the others are run by corporations like Elsevier or ProQuest, this is run by a nonprofit. So there's not as much of a vested interest in your user data. And there are ways that you can use Zotero without giving up any data at all. So if you're very concerned about data privacy, Zotero is the best one for that. I think another highlight is that it's free. So some other software require subscriptions that you're able to get for free through LSU. But if you graduate or you change to another position at LSU or you leave the campus, then you have to start paying for it. But Zotero can go with you beyond LSU because it's free. It also has a great support community, so it has a lot of useful help documentation and forums where you can get support. It has automatic format detection, so if I am on a page that has a journal article, it knows that it's a journal article. If I'm on a page that's a YouTube video, it knows it's a YouTube video. So it saves the correct information in the right format. It also saves PDFs and web archives automatically when they're available. So that is a really great feature. I also feel like it has a very low learning curve. It's one of the easier to use ones. So if you want something very basic, Zotero is great for that. It also supports more than 9,000 citation styles, including those really specific ones that are only used by one journal. You can also save manually through things like a DOI number or an ISBN for books. So if you have a physical copy of something that maybe doesn't have a digital edition for you to save through, you can enter things manually that way as well. You can also save multiple sources at once, so I'll go through a little bit later about how you can do that, so that saves time. It syncs across devices, so if I want to use multiple devices and be able to access my content and save from different devices, I can do that using Zotero. It also has automatic word processor integration, so you don't need to download anything extra in order to cite in Word or Google Docs. Now, those are some of the pros. What are the cons? I think the biggest of the shortcomings is that it has less storage space than the others. You can always purchase more for a fee, but if you need to save a ton of content and you need to hang on to it and not clear out space, Zotero might not be the best fit for you, and you might want to go with something like EndNote or Mendeley. It also doesn't provide any sort of professional IT support like something like EndNote or Mendeley might, because it's run by a nonprofit and not by a larger corporation. It's also not entirely web-based, so if you don't want to download any kind of software, Zotero might not be for you. You do have to download some software in order to get the full use out of it. It also doesn't have any kind of built-in PDF annotation, so if you are looking for something like that, I think EndNote has the ability to annotate PDFs within the software, but Zotero does not. It also is not for mobile. So I can access my Zotero library from my phone, but I can't save stuff from my phone. So if any of those things are deal breakers for you, you should probably explore one of the other citation management software. I mentioned that it works with multiple different systems, but it works most seamlessly by downloading Zotero, using Firefox, and using Microsoft Word. That's where it works to its fullest potential. So if you have decided that Zotero is for you and you want to start using it, you'll just go to zotero.org/download. You'll create an account. I recommend that you use some kind of personal email address if you would like to use Zotero after you graduate, because LSU emails are not forever. You'll want to make sure that you have an email address associated with the account that you always have access to. You can always change it later, but if you're a person who's going to forget to do that, use your personal email from the get-go. Then you'll download the latest version of Zotero for your desktop, and you'll download the additional connector for your browser, unless you're on Firefox. If you're using Firefox, you don't need to download anything extra. Then you will log in to the Zotero desktop client to sync everything up, and you'll want to keep the desktop app running while you work. So if you try to save something and Zotero is not open, running in the background, it won't save. It will prompt you to open it, but you'll need to make sure that that's running in order for you to actually save everything. So to sync it up with your account, once you've got Zotero downloaded, you'll go into Zotero and then go to your preferences. And in your preferences, you'll see a sync tab. If you click on that, you'll see a way that you can log in. Mine here is already linked, but you'll just see a place to put in your username and password, and that will sync up with your Zotero account, and therefore everything will work on your devices. So now that we've got it set up, how do we save the stuff that we want to save? So here I am on one of the library's databases, Academic Search Complete, and I have pulled up a journal article. You will see that in your web browser, there is a new feature on your menu. So for me, it's popping up with a little paper icon. I mentioned that Zotero has that auto format detection. So basically, it's identifying that this is an article, and so it gives me the little article icon. When I click on that, it saves all of the information about that article into Zotero, including a PDF or a screenshot, or both when they're available. And when I go into my Zotero desktop client, I can see all of the information that it's automatically saved and synced up with my account with all of the relevant metadata. So it's pulling up that it's a journal article, it pulls the title, the authors, the abstract, etc., automatically. I also mentioned that you can save multiple files at once. This really comes in handy for things like literature reviews. So you'll notice that my icon is now a little folder. It's identifying that there's more than one item on the page that could be saved. It knows I'm on a search results page. So when I click on that, it pops up with the Zotero item selector, and you can click any or all of these that you want to save, and it will pull the metadata for all of those articles. So it saves a ton of time. I will give the big disclaimer. Anything automated gets stuff wrong sometimes. Just like if you used EasyBib or Citation Machine or any of those kind of citation generators, things that are automated do get things wrong. They do require a little bit of human intervention to make sure they're perfect. So double check things like links and other information like author and title to make sure that it's pulling correctly. Most of the time it will. If for some reason you need a very specific URL for the citation that you're creating. For example, for a class assignment where you need the LSU Libraries database link to prove that's where you got it from, you'll want to make sure that the URL starts with libezp. That's a proxy URL that identifies that it's a LSU library resource and links it appropriately. If you don't have that link, it might not work later. You should be able to find it because it's saving all the other metadata. But if you need to edit it, you can edit it very easily in Zotero under the link button, the URL, in that field, and include the permalink, the permanent link that starts with that libezp if you have to. I will also add that Google Scholar results are often incomplete. That's one of the downsides to using Google Scholar. So data might be missing and need to be filled in. However, if you have a PDF that you've downloaded from Google Scholar, if it is an OCR'd PDF, optical character recognition, meaning that it's machine readable, you can retrieve metadata through that PDF. If you're unsure if the PDF you have has that capability, if you click and highlight the text, if you're able to do that in a PDF, it is machine readable. If you're unable to do that, it's more like an image, it's not going to be able to use this feature. But once I've saved my PDF, I can right-click on it and then select Retrieve Metadata for PDF, and it scans through and uses all of its artificial intelligence to find all of the relevant information and fill in the gaps for you. Really useful feature. So let's talk a little bit about how we can organize the stuff that we're saving. You can sort into folders, you can add notes, you can share, you can collaborate. And here's what some of those features look like in your screen. So at the top left, you can see that I can add a new folder, and you can see some of my existing folders below that. You can also choose where your content is being saved in those folders as you're saving it. So when you go to hit save in your browser, you can select which folder it's going into as it's being saved. You can see at the bottom left the tags for this folder. Most of these are auto-generated through tags that were already provided in the article or book chapter, but you can also add your own tags. At the top, you can see where I can add my item manually. So this is really useful for maybe something I have from special collections, which doesn't have a digital edition, and I can add all of my citation information there manually. You can also use the magic wand feature to add items by a DOI or an ISBN, and it will pull all the relevant metadata there just with those numbers. You can also use the search box, which is very useful for locating information. Not only does it allow you to search for things like keywords from the title or the author or the journal, but if you have a machine readable PDF associated with it, it can also search the full text. You can use the Notes tab in each individual item to add and read notes that you've saved. And you can see all of the source information that's saved for this particular article. And at the top right, there's a green arrow that's your sync arrow. Your content will sync regularly, automatically, but if you want to double check that everything is saved and synced up with your account, you can click that arrow and it will update and refresh everything you've saved. Some ideas for how you might organize. You can organize by collections, maybe having folders for different projects, for different classes. You can also add your tags, as I mentioned, and these are searchable across all the folders, but maybe you'll have a tag for different topics. So I might add, for example, with my example research project, gene editing or CRISPR or ethics, even if those didn't already pop up when I downloaded it. Or I might add things like methods, like this one is a systematic review and this article has a chronological method. Those are things that I can tag that maybe don't already pop up in the metadata. You can also add sort of more for yourself kinds of tags like workflows. So I might add a tag that this article has already been read, or this one needs to be read, or this one's already been cited. So that way you can search through your tags and figure out what you still need to do. For note-taking, a few things you might do. You might add notable quotes that you grabbed. You might add some kind of commentary on the articles about what you found interesting, ideas you might want to save for later and not forget. And though I mentioned you can't annotate PDFs directly in Zotero, if you use something like Adobe Reader to add notes or highlights to a PDF, you can import those into Zotero and it will retain them. And you can attach that PDF to the associated item. Now the fun part, how to cite your sources. There are a couple of ways to do this. The first one is a little bit more manual. So in the individual item, I click on that item and then right-click to select Create Bibliography from Item. And the second image shows me the pop-up window that comes up. I can choose my citation style. It gives me many options, but if the one you're looking for is not here, if you click on Manage Styles, you can pull from those more than 9,000 citation styles it supports and add it into your bank. Then you select your output mode, whether you want just the citation or the full bibliographic citation. And your output method, whether you want it as an RTF, maybe to put into some other kind of citation manager, or to copy it to your clipboard, to paste it, or maybe to print it. One of the wonderful benefits is that Zotero automatically adds a plugin to your word processors. You will notice that once you download Zotero, you then have a Zotero tab in your word processors. It does most of the work for you, but you still need to double check to make sure that the information in Zotero is accurate so your citations are accurate. Some of the really neat features it has is that it will do things like in-text citations and footnotes in addition to a full reference. It also does things like count authors. So if you're using a citation style that asks you to use et al. After a certain number of authors, it counts through the authors and adds et al. Where it needs to be. It also differentiates between works by the same author. So for example, if I have 2 articles by Jones from the same year, it will automatically do Jones 2017A, Jones 2017B. It does that kind of stuff for you. It also, as I said, does the references page, and that comes complete with formatting. So it will do the indentations correctly, and it will automatically alphabetize where needed. So here is a little snippet of my Word window of a little example here, and you'll see that Zotero tab that automatically gets added to my word processor. So here I have a quote that I need to add an in-text citation to. When I click Add Edit Citation for the first time, it pops up with that citation style menu. So this is the more automated way of doing it, so you don't have to copy and paste. I'm going to choose my citation style. For this one, I've picked APA 6. It also has multiple editions. I'm going to click to automatically update citations. I recommend that you click that because if you are writing something and you decide you don't actually need a source, when I erase it, it will automatically remove it, not just in the text, but also from the bibliography. So that's a really useful feature I would recommend keeping on. Then I hit OK, and it pops up with this handy search bar. So what this is doing is it searches my entire Zotero library for me to choose my citation. So add a little keyword, maybe it's something from the title or the author. You'll choose the relevant article that you're trying to cite, and it automatically places it in text wherever I had my cursor clicked. It is a set it and forget it process. Zotero's word plugin will remember your formatting once you've set it. Even after you close out and come back, it will leave it as the default setting you left it at. But you can also change it at any point. So if, for example, you submit an article and you use Zotero to put everything into APA format, and then that journal has the audacity to reject your article and you need to resubmit it somewhere else that uses a different citation style. It's a one-click change to select a new citation style and it will update everything to the new format. So that's a really huge time saver. So I've added my first citation. Now I need to add my references page. You only have to do this once. So I've added my first citation and then I click Add Edit Bibliography. Once you've created it, it automatically updates as you add citations. So you only have to click it once, and then every time you add an in-text citation, it will add the full reference to the end. If you need to edit these, if for some reason any of the text information came out incorrect, maybe the author isn't correct or something is miscapitalized, edit those within Zotero, not within Word. So what you would do is go into Zotero, fix whatever you need, and then come back to Word and click the refresh button, and it will update it. If you need more help, Zotero has tons of help documentation on their website. If you go under the documentation tab, they also have really great forums that provide a lot of help. So I recommend you go through those for any kind of weird quirks that you're interested about. There is also a citation management guide. So if you are trying to decide between any of the citation managers available to you, there is a handy reference chart that compares all of them side by side to help you make an informed decision about which one's going to work for you. It also includes some helpful videos and links to some of those support pages that will help you with installation or any problems you might run into. If you run into any other problems, please reach out to your friendly neighborhood librarians. Some of us are more adept with certain citation management software than others, just based on our experience. But if you reach out to your librarian, we can help you with setting up or troubleshooting any problems that you might encounter. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. You can send me an email or make a one-on-one appointment with me, and I would be happy to help. So good luck with Zotero.